Okay, good evening, council. Good evening, staff, the press, and anybody watching us from YouTube. Welcome to our May 4th council meeting of 2020. I have a motion moved by Lyle Warden, second by Martin Lang. Be resolved that the council meeting of the Township of South Glengarry now be open at 7:01 p.m. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. I can ask everyone to please stand for the playing of our national anthem. Okay, thank you. And before we begin, I would like to take an opportunity to acknowledge that today is International Firefighters Day. I would like to take a moment to commend the 116 active volunteer firefighters that make up South Glengarry Fire Services for their hard work, commitment, and professionalism serving our municipality. On behalf of the Council of the Township of South Glengarry, staff, and all residents, we thank you for all that you do for our community. So thank you. Number 3 is the approval of the agenda. I have a motion moved by Stephanie Jaworski, second by Sam McDonnell. Be resolved that the Council of the Township of South Glengarry approve the agenda. Is there any additions to the agenda, Madam Clerk?
Yes, item 3 under for information only will be coming forward to other business as item 3.
Okay, so number 3 to other business. Thank you. Any other additions from any members of council? Councillor Jaworski?
Yes, thank you. Through Mr. Mayor, if we could bring forward also item 1 under for information only, the state savings on streetlights.
Okay, thank you. So that'll be moved to number 4 under other business. Okay, anything else? Thank you. So the motion will be as amended. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. Number 4, declaration of pecuniary interest. Not seeing none. Approval of the minutes, the previous minutes of April 20th. I have a motion moved by Martin Lang, second by Stephanie Jaworski. Be resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of the Council of the Township of South Glengarry held on April 20th, 2020 be adopted as circulated. All in favor? Motion's carried. No presentations or delegations. Thank you. We'll move to number 7, new business. Staff reports, amend interim tax bylaw 02-2020. Mr. McDonald. Is he on? I understand Mr. McDonald's having an issue getting on, so we're going to skip him at the moment until he gets back on. So we're going to move to number 4, Civic addressing bylaw 24-2020. Mr. Poupart, are you on?
Press alternate unmute. Okay. Hello. Can
Gary,
you hear me?
your video, your audio is on, but not your video.
That's okay. I don't think I have enough power to do both my video and audio. And
Okay.
I apologize for that, Mr.
That's okay.
Mayor.
Thank you.
Just give me a second. I'll go share the screen. If I know how to share, get my program files. Here we go. So I'm gonna have to apologize. I cannot get into my OneDrive to share this file.
Dave has put up the thing on our site, so we can see it now. So if you wanted to maybe
Perfect.
just go through it or talk about it.
Yeah, I just now got to find how to get back to you. I am not a Zoom person, so I must apologize. Chat down there. No. Try it this way here, if you don't mind. I'll use another device.
Mr. Mayor and Mr. Poupart. Mr. Poupart, I could start. I could proceed with the first 6 slides while you're preparing.
Yes, that'd be good. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Tonight we're going to speak about the updated civic addressing bylaw. It speaks to all civic signage that we have for addressing within the municipality, and also to the Farm 911 aspect that we're bringing forward. So there we go. So the civic addressing bylaw was brought in mainly for emergency use, so that all our properties within our municipality could be accessed or found in the event of an emergency. So no one should have to wait helplessly for first responders to find them. Time is everything, and a civic address to the entrance of both building lots, homes, or vacant farm addresses, farm fields could this time could make all the difference. So SDNG United Counties and the Township of South Glengarry are proud to support the Farm 911 Emily project, which encourages agricultural landowners to have civic addresses assigned to vacant land entrances. A number of years ago, a tragic event happened within Ontario where a young girl was lost her life in a rural farm accident in a property that was not addressed, and it took significant time for emergency services to reach this child named Emily. So in an event, in a method to fix the situation, many municipalities in Ontario, including South Glengarry and the rest of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry, are bringing forward a program called Farm 911, where we will add civic address signage to non-building lots, so agricultural fields or vacant lots. Farm accidents can occur in remote locations on rural properties, often quite a distance from the existing civic addressing numbers, so it makes it quite challenging for ourselves to access emergencies and find them. So by having a civic address assigned to every farm property entrance, a 911 road sign can be installed, helping first responders to more easily locate the entrance in the event of an emergency. So the proposed civic addressing bylaw 24/2020 has been written to address both civic addressing and the Farm 911 project. So because our current bylaw that exists today did not speak to the ability to put specific signage on non-building lots, we took it upon ourselves to rewrite the complete bylaw to make it all encompassing to bring these vacant lot signage systems into place. So now, Mr. Poupard, are you prepared to continue on with the bylaw portion, the administrative?
Yes, I am, Chief Robertson, but if I could ask you if you could move the slides forward, I don't have control over it.
By all means.
Okay. So civic addressing, what is in the bylaw? General provisions, which are outlining where and where not to install civic numbers. So these are the guidelines or rules that we're setting, where you can place your sign in relation to the property line, the driveway, or if you're in a urban settlement and you're fairly close to the road, you can put up a civic plaque on the building or on a on a wall within 20 meters of the property line. It includes the design of the civic blades and address plaques, which you just have to drive around town or even look at your own. That's our design we're keeping. Blue background with white reflective numbers. The placement of civic blades and address plaques. So again, it gives the specific location of the blades and plaques. Mandatory new civic numbers for vacant land through the property severance process. So the Farm 911 technically is a voluntary numbering system. However, when you severance off a farm property, part of the severance process will include having to put a new civic number on the vacant land at the new entrance or at one of the entrances. And that's really about it in terms of the slide. I am open to questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Gary, for that. I'll open it up to members of council if they have any questions for Mr. Poupart, Deputy Mayor Warden.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I don't really have any questions. I just want to thank you both for your efforts on this this staff report. And we did have to change the wording, so I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to this being passed tonight, hopefully, with the support of all council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McDonnell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I had a question in regards to, I guess, some of the costs and things like that associated with this new bylaw. I'm in full support of it. I think it's a good thing. I know, especially from my background as far as agriculture and then working in that sector, delivering agriculture products, numbering system would be very helpful, as well as in the event of an emergency. But I look at we're charging for the blade and the post. Is there a possibility to only be purchasing the blade as opposed to purchasing a post as well? Because I know, speaking from experience, we probably have 300 T-bar posts that are sitting in a pile inside a shed that would do the trick just
Maybe,
as well.
maybe Dave, you can jump into this because I think your posts are differently.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, we had significant discussion both across the county and also internally in South Glengarry. The effort and the main desires have a very uniform program across the board. We did realize and come to the decision that the signage that is going to be used in some of these on these rural properties, the current PVC plastic post and blade might not be durable enough for some of the locations they'll be installed in. So we thought a steel post and aluminum blade would be a much better use and much better situated for their actual use in those locations. So with that said, we have two different groups. Our aim for uniformity and to have them all be the same, our desire administratively would be to have them come as a package with a steel post supplied by the township, both for aesthetics and for our reassurance that they'll be installed in the same way and all those types of considerations. We are not going to allow them to be installed on fence posts, on gate posts, those types of things. So administratively, we would prefer, and our request would be that they would remain a sign and a post that would be purchased, be they plastic or be they steel. Our request would be that they would be purchased from the township.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I actually got booted out during your answer, Chief Robertson. So if somebody else has a subsequent to that, they're welcome to it, and I'll catch up through that.
Deputy Mayor Warden.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I concur with the chief. I think having some sort of uniformity is a good thing, and especially for the EMS responders, first responders. And I think the costs are relatively low compared to our normal civic number signs. So I like the report how it's written up, and I think having, although it is going to be an additional cost, I think having the uniformity will be a better benefit to our first responders. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you. Councillor Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. Just a question for either Chief Robertson or Gary Poupart. Are the rural farm ones, are they a different color? Are they going to have a different look to them than our regular ones? Or are they the same blue with the same color as the other ones?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, they will have a slightly different look just because of the material difference, but they will be white writing, reflective writing on a blue background. So in essence, they follow the same styling.
I have a follow-up to that too, if I may. Just in looking through the bylaw at the end there, it was giving the prices, and the prices there was a little variation between the prices that are going to be in our next report, or maybe the two reports are combined here. But do we need to charge an administration fee of 15% or whatever for these signs? I mean, we have the staff and everybody's paying taxes and hoping to get something. It can't all be user pay. So don't know what everybody else thinks, but I'd like to see the administration fee drop on the signs.
Mhm.
Mr. Poupart, do you have a comment to that?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. The 15% administration fee is really a recovery cost. There will be a time spent on staff on collecting these signs. We have to go out to Boundary Road every once in a while just to pick them up. So 15% really, I would say, would be up to council to make the decision whether they want to make this a user fee based budget or whatever the cost ourselves.
Well, my vote would be just to have the price of the signs. We just pass them on at cost. That's my vote.
Okay.
Councillor McDonnell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd agree with Councillor Lang. I think, I'm assuming through what I've heard that the answer to my question was no, we won't be able to use, a property owner won't be able to use a sign they already have or an alternative of that. So I would for sure like to see the 15% come off in general, but on just that being said, yeah, no, I wouldn't think we need to charge an administration fee for a trip to Boundary Road.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor McDonnell and Councillor Lang. And remember, the motion is only for the first and second reading for this evening. So we have an opportunity to bring it back for the third reading. So the changes that we make this evening, Mr. Poupart can certainly make those changes on behalf of council and bring back into the third reading. Question from Deputy Mayor Warden.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I was just going to concur with the other members. I think waiving the 15% is not an issue for me. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Councillor Jaworski? You put your, okay, go ahead, sorry.
Okay.
You have to start over.
Problem. Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to start by saying thank you very much to Chief Robertson and Mr. Poupart for getting this, getting to the end of the road on this project. I know it's been something that's been very important to the rest of council, including myself, to get this going, and that it's a very good initiative that should really help our first responders and also our residents. Now, to the point, to Councillor Lang's point on the administrative fee, I would agree with Councillor Lang that unless we think we are needing to hire more staff to be able to provide this service, I think it's something that we can incorporate in what we're already doing. So I don't think it's necessary to charge an administrative fee.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Poupart. I guess you know what council's looking for in the third report.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll make those changes for the next council meeting, and I'll remove that surcharge.
Okay, thank you. I do have a motion moved by Martin Lang, second by Stephanie Jaworski. Be it resolved that the staff report number 61-2020 be received and that bylaw 24-2020 being a bylaw to regulate civic addresses in the township of South Glengarry be read a first and second time this 4th day of May 2020. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. So while we're discussing that one, we'll move right to number 5, which is the Farm 991 signage, Emily project funding. Chief Robertson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Building on our past staff report, now that we have implemented the Farm 911 and civic addressing bylaw, and we can move forward with Farm 911 signage and the implementation. Those of you on County Council remember that County Council did provide $5,000 per municipality within South Glengarry as seed money towards the implementation of this project. The all funds that will be used for that $5,000 will be used towards the signage cost for rural properties. One question that we have coming from that is exactly how to spend the $5,000. In the analysis on this report, I speak to the fact that the cost recovery pricing for the Farm 911 signage post and blade will be $60. I'm looking for direction from council as to how to implement the $5,000 seed money towards this project. I've specified a few options. If we give the first applicants 100% subsidized purchase of their signage, we will get 83 sign sets out into the community. I've also put down if we subsidize it by 50% until the grant is exhausted, each applicant would get $30 off. So the price of the signage would be $30 also. So that would mean 166 applicants would, or sign sets would be out in the community with this assistance from the seed money. I have also put, well, and then, sorry, also, I mean, if there are other suggestions of council, we're very much open to that for how to spend that money. One stipulation I've put into the system is it's in our opinion that a single purchaser will be limited to 10 civic address signs at the subsidized price until such time as the grant is depleted. Any further purchases will be at the regular price. So if it will just help spread out the value of the seed money. So there will be no impact on the 2020 budget as the $5,000 grant from SD&G counties is reserved for use directly towards the implementation of the project. So basically just looking for either it be 100%, looking for direction, sorry, on whether it be 100% subsidized until the $5,000 value is exhausted, 50%, or any other suggestion of council.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from Councillor Lang and then Deputy Mayor Warden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. I would go with number 2. I'd like to see the 50%. If we give them out free, the first few are going to take them all. And I think if we got 166, I'd be thrilled if we could get 166 of them out this year. I think that would be a great start, and it would be a great initiative to get this project rolling. So that's my vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Warden.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Lang, I 100% concur. I'd like to see the more signs out, so that's good. Madam Clerk, the staff report is the same number as the previous one. They both say staff report 61. That's why I had my hand up when the mayor was reading the bylaw there at the start. So the last report was staff report 61, and this one also indicates staff report 61. So I'm not sure how we should proceed, but I am 100% in favor with option 2.
We'll make a friendly amendment to the resolution and correct it here. Thank you for pointing that out.
So we're changing it to 62-2020. Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Warden, for that. Councillor McDonnell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd agree as well. I'd like to see option 2. You hate to see somebody go in and take all the money off the hop, and the guys that are out in the field right now, or this might not be top of mind just yet. So let's see if we can make the money last as long as possible and let some of them get some uptake on it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dworsky.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to agree with my colleagues. I think we want to encourage as many people to use the program as possible, and so that way to spread that encouragement around. So I would agree with option 2. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I also agree with all the members of council in regards to the number B, 50% grant until it's exhausted. So thank you for that. Thank you, Chief. I have a motion moved by Sam McDonnell, second by Lyle Warden. Be resolved that staff report number 62-2020 be received, and the council directs administration to allocate the $5,000 grant as outlined in option B, which would be the 50%. You're all in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. Okay, we'll move back to under staff reports number 1, amend interim tax bylaw 02-2020. Mr. McDonald.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The staff report is returning to you at request from the previous meeting. We moved March back to April. That was our first interim installment, and our second one is to address it, and we'll be moving May back to June. Additionally, you'll see on point number 3 and 4 that we were able to get it to be just current taxes, kind of like the holiday on taxes, for better words, which was council's intent the whole time. So we solved that problem. Otherwise, this is what you I believe this is what you expected from our last meeting.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. I think the changes that were there is what we requested. Deputy Mayor Warden.
I just wanted to say thank you for showing us what we're losing and getting the right wording. So appreciate your efforts.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions from members of council? Not seeing none. I have a motion moved by Sam McDonnell, second by Lyle Warden. Be resolved that staff report 58-2020 be received, and that the council of the Township of South Glengarry approves bylaw number 25-2020, being a bylaw to amend bylaw -02-2020, establishing an interim tax levy, be read a first, second, third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 4th day of May 2020. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. Okay, number 2 is the high water bill adjustment program. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, again. So we presented to you how we would do it last meeting, April 20th, on staff report 49-2020. And this one shows you the ramifications of applying it. Under analysis, you'll see there's 5 qualifying users. The cost would be approximately $7,000. And then we'd use it from now on, this policy. I suppose on the aggregate, it gives us a little bit more flexibility. In the past, there'd been times that we kind of thought we could do a little bit more, but we were tied. So this is a nice adjustment for the water users, especially for events that are kind of one-offs that can get expensive. One water, like a toilet leaking, can actually cost $1,800, which is a hefty bill for somebody. And previously, we were only able to write off a portion of, or a significant portion of the sewer component, 75%, and then give them 6 months interest free. But that's not a big respite whenever you're low income. So this is I think it's a great move going forward.
Okay, thank you. I think the changes that Mr. McDonald made for this evening were what we requested from the last meeting. So any additional comments or questions from members of council? Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. McDonald, for bringing this forward, and thank you for giving us the impacts if this is applied through beginning with the beginning of our term. And I think that that's entirely fair, and that the costs, if it was applied retroactively to our term of council, I think it makes sense. So thank you for compiling that for us.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion moved by Stephanie Jaworski, second by Martin Lang. Be resolved that staff report 59-2020 be received, and that the council of the Township of South Glengarry direct staff to implement the amend 2020 Schedule F for bylaw 39-09, retroactive to December 1st, 2018. Yeah, sorry. You heard the motion. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. And number 3 is reserve transfers 2019 to 2020. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. This is kind of contingent or tied to your budget process. We said we were taking some money out of 2019 to move it to 2020. I hadn't got a formal resolution stating these ones. They're not included in the staff report I put forth on November 18th. That was a different bunch of reserves. And it's nothing like year end to find the things that you didn't see formally, and the auditors will appreciate this. So this was already approved in the 2020 side through the budget. It's just from 2019 doing those transactions for year end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from members of council? Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. My question to you, Mr. McDonald, is for the transfer for General Reserve A. I believe it's, well, the one that's referred to IT projects in 2020 brackets council microphones. My question is, how does that relate, or does it relate to one of the projects that was presented to us at the last council meeting with regards to modernization technology? I think there was some references made to council equipment as well. So I just wanted to know if there's overlap there, or if they're entirely separate.
I suppose it is how elaborate we get with the technology, as we've seen here. With we don't have the ability to, in council presently, videotape ourselves. So if we go above and beyond, that would be modernization. This was based for the microphones, to upgrade our microphones. So it's kind of, it's tied to it if we go bigger, but at the very core of it, this is for the microphones.
But I assume efforts will be made to synchronize those two projects.
Oh yes, yeah, we wouldn't do one without the other, or without consideration for the add-ons, so to speak. Make sure that if we buy one, the next one is not a whole rewire. It is just an addition, so to speak.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I believe our CEO, Mr. Mills, had a question or comment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through you. To Councillor Jaworski's point, there's a lot of moving parts recently with some funding. So I did bring forward the modernization funding as a potential for the improving sound system and electronics and digital and technology. For next council meeting, the plan is to bring something forward to you with information that we learned in the last few days, that the social services relief fund that's come through the Ontario government, that's being managed by the City of Cornwall. We have potential to access funds which would be related to COVID-19 relief. And one of the things would be we may have to do council meetings this way for an extended period, which would require us to do video and electronics So I guess the short answer to your point is, yeah, we're looking at consolidating and or using the funds for modernization, the reserves, and potentially the social services relief fund. And we'll get back to you on that with a plan before we would move forward with anything.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that there are these moving parts, and thank you very much for trying to coordinate them all together.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from council? Not hearing none. I have a motion moved by Sam McDonnell, second by Lyle Worden. Be resolved that staff report 60-2020 be received and that the council of the Township of South Glengarry approve the 2019 transfers to reserve as presented. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to other business. Notice of motion for consideration at this meeting.
Yeah,
Oh,
through you,
Deputy
Mr.
Warden,
Mayor.
sorry.
Yeah, not a problem. I asked this to be pulled off at the last meeting. I'm looking for council support. It's a general support bylaw to request digital meetings with ministers. It's pretty self-explanatory, and I think this new age that we're living in, I think I'm hoping that there'll be enough support provincially to allow this to happen, as it's quite costly to take an entourage to Toronto to meet the minister. So I'm hoping my colleagues will support it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to support Deputy Mayor Worden this motion. And if you've, I assume also that we've seen the news about AMO proceeding in a virtual manner, and that there will probably all be having virtual delegations this time around. So hopefully this will be one of those situations where we push to do something new, and that there are long-term benefits for everyone, including municipalities that are certainly far away from the centers, that are where it's very expensive for them to be able to bring many members to meet with ministers. So I completely support it. Thank you for bringing it up.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion moved by Lyle Worden, second by Stephanie Jaworski. Be resolved that the council receives the resolution from the municipality of Grey Highlands related to the support of electronic delegations, and that the Township of South Glengarry sends a letter of support in principle with respect to the Township of Greater Madawakas. Council's resolution calling for electronic delegations for small and rural municipalities, as this provincial government has requested municipalities be respectful of taxpayers' money, that the technology has improved to the state where this can and should be done, and that this letter be circulated to local municipalities, to MPP Jim McDonnell, MPP Stephen Clark, MP Eric Duncan, and all other municipalities. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Worden. Number 2 is request from the Glengarry Archives. Mr. McDonald has asked me to meet with him last week, so I was at the Archives building in Alexandria. So Mr. McDonald is looking for 2 issues. One is there's a shortfall. He believes it's mostly, some of it's to do with COVID-19, where they can't go out and do any extra fundraising. So it makes it difficult to pick up dollars from the local residents, or having some type of a dinner in regards to trying to make more dollars to offset the shortfall. So he's requesting that both municipalities, South Glengarry and North Glengarry, contribute towards the shortfall. He's also asking for additional funds as a short-term loan until he receives the GST back from the federal government. Once he receives that back, then he'll be able to pay back the shortfall in regards to the loan that he's requesting. So I'm basically here this evening to try and give this as information for tonight. I was going to ask Mr. McDonald to take that back and bring us back a report in respect of how we could pay that additional dollars, where that would come from, and how it would affect our budget for this year, because we certainly didn't budget for the additional shortfall that he's requesting. I think the short-term loan, I don't think is a major issue. I think that's just, my understanding is the GST will be back towards the end of July, back in Mr. McDonald's hands. So then those funds will be released back to our municipality for those dollars, but it's the shortfall that he's requesting here this evening. So I'm not sure if anybody else had comments or questions in respect to that. I'll go to Councillor Lang and then Deputy Mayor Worden.
Thank you, Mr. Barron, through you. I would agree that the loan is not an issue. If we can, help their project along while they're waiting for whatever it is to come in, the HST and so forth, to come back in, we could do that. I'm even a little bit in favor of the other one. I'd like to see this project get finished. I think they've been very good at trying hard to keep their costs down. But I do think we do need to be prudent and make sure we know where it's going to come from. And we need to look at our finances and see, we're going to be short in some other areas in our finance with recreation department and so forth. So let's make sure we know where we're going to get this first. So I agree with you. Let's bring it back at the next meeting.
Yeah, thank you. I think we need to follow our normal policies and procedures as regards when somebody's requesting any extra dollars, that we go back and ask for a report, bring back at the next council meeting. So I think this would follow that same protocol. Deputy Mayor Warden.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I concur what Councillor Lang said. I do want to see this project going forward. There's been a significant commitment from the community, and I do know that there was a grant that we were hoping, we as the Archives Committee were hoping to be successful with at the SDNG county level. Unfortunately, that was not successful, so kind of put us in this predicament. Although I am in full favor of it, I do know that we need to be prudent and let staff come back to us with where we would be able to come up with these funds as it wasn't in the budget. So I'll look forward to that staff report at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McDonald, you can have that for the next council meeting. Okay, thank you. I seen the thumbs up. Thank you. Councillor Jaworski, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly, I mean, hats off to the group who have been, spearheading this work. I mean, the building on the outside looks amazing. I mean, they've achieved quite a substantial, quite something to be proud of in a short while. However, they are asking for a significant increase in funds versus what was presented to us a year ago now. I certainly have no issue with the loan portion. I think if we can support people that way, we're being creative and it's not impacting negatively on our residents. I think that's definitely something that we should do. But one thing I would like Mr. McDonald and his staff report, I would like it to be a bit more clear on where these additional costs or funds that I didn't get that they thought they were going to get. I'd like that to be more clearly enumerated, because the budget, the amount that we increased in our budget as a contingency that was already approved, and now this additional fund, it is a significant increase, and I think we need to be much more clear on what specifically did not come, what was different than what they expected, or what didn't come through versus what they expected. And I'd also like some commentary as to towards timelines. I think they were hoping to have the project completed and have an opening in the fall. However, I expect with the current situation that will not be happening. Just simply on gathering numbers around gathering. So I think also there could be more time. Perhaps there's a time frame here where we push out perhaps the amount of money that they need as well. So I'd like those two items to be addressed, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just to answer the second part of your question, I had that question to Mr. McDonald in regards to when they were planning on opening or when they were hoping to open. He's still opening for the fall. That's his goal. Excuse me. Obviously, there'd be protocols and policies to follow in regards to who could be in the building and who can't be in the building. Obviously, the grand opening won't happen probably now till 2021, but his goal is to still open for the fall of 2020. We'll see how that goes over the next few months. And my understanding from the school board is that they can go in, I think, at any time to take the archives out of the school that's in Green Valley and move it over to Alexandria at any point in time whenever they're ready. Councillor McDonnell and then Deputy Mayor Warden.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I was going to express my support for the project, and just to say that I agree we should come back the next meeting with a report outlining where it's going to come from. And the loan itself is a non-issue for me. I think for all the work that this group has done, and I joined the party a little bit late as the new term started of council. The work and the dedication going into the projects, it's incredible the amount the volunteers are putting into it. and Mr. McDonald especially, and Deputy Mayor Warden. I would like to see the project continue. We should know where the money's coming from and follow it prudently. I know there is a loss looking at it from, there is no Highland Games this year. The Williamstown Fair is on the fence, and a lot of things will be closed, and people will be tighter than what they might have originally planned. So there will be shortfalls, just natural occurrence of COVID-19. So just to make that point as well, significant funds do come from the community.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Warden.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it was more of a comment from what Councillor Jaworski stated. Some of the savings that they've equated for is moving into that building on schedule, as the school board will forgive them for the remainder of the lease. So they're hoping to capture some of those savings that they budgeted for, also to complete the project. And I know, as per Alan's conversation I had with him today, the North Glengarry inspector blessed them to continue on. So they've been able to work throughout this whole shutdown, as they were able to have it deemed essential because of the nature of the work being completed with the stonework outside. So yeah, I understand, but part of his calculation is not paying out the remainder of the lease for the school boards.
Okay, thank you. I guess my final question would be to Mr. McDonald or to Madam Clerk. It sounds council's in favor in regards to certainly the lending, the portion that they're asking for a loan. My question is, can we do we need a motion in respect of supporting that? The only reason I'm asking if we can support that this evening, we can get those dollars out to Mr. McDonald and the archives as soon as possible while we're waiting for the report to come back at our next council meeting. Mr. McDonald, do you have comments to that, or Madam Clerk?
I'll leave that one. That's more procedural because we have money and we have the staff on the ground to write a check. It's just whether or not it's procedural. So I'll leave that to Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
I can prepare a resolution. I just would need to know what council's wishing. I don't know the amount of the.
It's in the.
Loan. Sorry.
It was 21,000.
The 21,000 was the loan, or was that the?
Yes, that was the loan. Yeah.
So is that what council's?
Yes, I'm fine
We'd
with
like to see that this evening, so we can send that off at least for now, and then bring back the balance of the shortfall at the next council meeting.
Correct.
Okay, so she'll make that resolution. Does this one have to be changed, or can I just read this one also?
I think you can read that because
This
that was
one's
more
pretty-
for the rest of the budget.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll read this motion. Moved by Sam McDonnell, second by Lyle Warden. Be resolved that the council requests administration prepare a staff report to outline options regarding the Glengarry Archives request for additional funding. So that would be for the shortfall. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. While we're waiting for the next one, we'll move to number 3 under the information purposes only resolution, provincially significant wetlands destination, Township of Perth South, Councillor Lang.
Oh, sorry, can't do two things at once.
There, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. I just wondered what everybody else was thinking. I was reading this. It looks like the Perth South, Merrickville, Warford, Norfolk, and a couple other counties. The province has been changing provincially significant wetland boundaries and so forth, and we're not really sure how they do that, whether it's aerial photographs or whatever, but likely not ground sourcing. And without any reasons or supplying any reasons. And this can affect people's properties. It can affect the planning in that township and so forth. So I think that what these municipalities are asking for, and I'd like to support them, is that the province has to put forward some reasoning behind their decision when they do this. And, that way, at least we can explain it locally. We don't have any control over it, but we have to be the ones that deal with the fallout. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We can ask administration to bring that back for the next council meeting. Councillor McDonnell, then Deputy Mayor Warden.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I agree with Councillor Lang. I would support this because I agree. We see a lot of designations get changed, and we often don't hear about them until it's too late, and it's causing an issue for somebody who thought they were in a different designation or zoning than they actually are now. So I'd support that motion as well. So.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Warden.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I 100% support this. And I'd also like to go a step further and lobby them to involve local municipalities when they're making these decisions, because I mean, look what we've been up against with our official plan here locally, and all the money that was spent, and then the province just come in and changed everything. So I'm 100% in favor of this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And again, we'll just ask staff to look at that and bring back a resolution of support at our next council meeting. And the other one under committee, for information purposes only, was number 4, resolution, community gardens, garden centers and nurseries. Councilor Jaworski, did you say no?
No, it was the lights.
It's the
Oh, I apologize. Yes, the saving streetlights, sorry.
No, that's okay. I have nothing against the community gardens. I also saw that that's already been dealt with by what came through today. So I declined to bring it forward. But no, thank you again. I did want to bring, I wanted to give Mr. McDonald a chance to speak a little bit more in detail about the savings that we are achieving with our electricity procurement through the township that was led by Mr. McDonald. I think it's really important to highlight and to celebrate when staff find ways to proactively save us money. And I'd like him to give us a little bit more detail on what's been achieved here.
All right. So I'm going to try to share my screen so I can go through the graphs with everybody. Let me know if it does work. Do you see the chart right here?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So still see the chart?
Yep.
Great. So this first chart is essentially our savings or cost month over month for the year of 2019. The blue or the red represents our buildings for the most part, like what your regular electricity would be. And the green portions are for our street lights. They get billed differently, and that's why they're separated. So you can see over the course of the whole year, this $11,000, we saved $11,181. And we do have more variability in our electricity rates or our electricity costs, but overall we have saved money. The second chart here just shows historically how we've done. We did have one down year where we ended up paying more than Hydro One, but on the aggregate, we have saved decent amounts of money, as you can see over time. To the tune of $33,000 over the last 4 years. In fact, in 2016, we were one of the best performing municipalities, even though that was a loss. That was a nice little feather in the cap that year. Number 3, so this is a breakdown of the cost of our electricity. We're at 20% hedge. Most municipalities are at 60% hedge. And when I asked the question, why does everybody do 60%? They said everybody else does it. And I said, that's not a good enough answer for me. And this has actually ended up saving us money over time. And I've encouraged other municipalities to do it, but most do 60 because there's safety in herds, but there's savings to be a lone wolf sometimes. So whenever you buy your electricity, you actually have the cost of the hedge. So that's 20%. The electricity spot market. So that's just the market price. So we get most of our electricity at the market price. And then global adjustment. Those come together through the Ontario Energy Board sets the global adjustment amount. And interestingly enough, when prices go up, your global adjustment goes down. When prices go down, global adjustment goes up. So it keeps it fairly steady. There's not really a great win, but we do see savings, as you saw, 11,000 just last year. So if I move to chart number 4, this is just our cost versus time of use. Time of use is what everybody else pays, and it shows that high month in October, but on aggregate, we do save over time. And that was my fundamental goal, is because the township lasts forever. So we can have ebbs and flows, but you take the best decision over time. That's a going concern. Township doesn't die. It will outlive everybody. Anyway, this is total consumption hedged and streetlight accounts. So how much energy we use in our buildings versus our streetlights. And then finally, I think this is that same graph in kilowatts, but just beside each other as opposed to a stacked bar graph. To say it's been a success is somewhat of an understatement, because it's not often, whenever I did this, I was still learning under Mike, and it's not often that somebody pays for a quarter of their salary within 3 months. So it's nice of you to bring it up, Stephanie, a little flex on my part there, and it continues to save us money. So I'm glad for it. It's one of the few times as I said, like energy, you don't typically see the savings, but you see the decreased costs. So it's nice to see this point. Thank you for bringing it up. It is kind of a great win for the township.
Yeah, for sure. Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you very much, Mr. McDonald. And I look forward to when we get a chance to do energy audits on our buildings and be more energy efficient. I look forward to those, to not only having these savings versus the market, but also overall bringing our costs down as well. So thank you very much.
And may I add just one more thing? Having completed year-end streetlight accounts, at the end of 2019, our streetlight account for Hydro One, so with the electricity savings and as well as the LED program, we are now in a surplus and we're building our reserve. I imagine in 2021, we will have a discussion to decrease that 9120 that you see on your bills if you are in a hamlet or a village. We'll discuss bringing that number down. We can increase our reserves for the next program while at the same time saving money. So there's a few wins in these programs. That one is more compliments of Mr. MacDonald in infrastructure though, because he piloted that project.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Jaworski. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. I have our CEO, Mr. Mills.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So just further to Councillor Jaworski's point about energy audits and the great work done by Mr. McDonald here, showing you how we can save. That is on our list, and what I presented to you last meeting about energy audits and/or consideration for an energy savings policy and/or efficiencies. That there's definitely a lot.
One more time.
There's definitely a lot to be saved there. So I think we'll see.
Okay, great. Thanks. We look forward to that report sometime in the future. Okay, I have a motion moved by Martin Lang, second by Stephanie Jaworski. Be resolved that the Council of the Township of South Glengarry accepts the items presented on the agenda as committee reports and for information purposes only. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. And I'll go back to the motion that Madam Clerk just wrote up in regards to the loan for the Glengarry Archives. I have a motion moved by Lyle Warden, second by Martin Lang. Be resolved the Council supports the request from the Glengarry Archives for a loan of $22,000 and to be repaid in the fall of 2020. Any questions or comments? Councillor Lang?
I thought it was 21 in the original request, but I'm okay with 22.
Okay, we'll make sure that the number is exactly what they're asking for, but up to the 22,000, I guess, would be the answers. Okay, all in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. Okay, and then we'll move to number 8, unfinished business. Mr. McDonald, docks on township property.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. We are currently working to commence the survey. I was able to confirm that this survey work is a deemed essential service as it's pertaining to land transactions. So we will be continuing on with the survey, and we will be working with a lawyer to start drafting up some agreements with the residents to work towards the sale or potential sales of these surplus properties.
Mr. McDonald, do you know, or have they given you an idea when they can start the surveys or when they're going to be completed?
I should be hearing from them to meet on site within this next week. And my understanding is they should be prepared to start right away.
Thank you. And maybe we can have the lawyers start writing up the agreements just so that we can, people are asking to have this wrapped up as soon as possible. And I certainly don't want it to move over to the fall. So if we can wrap this up for the summer months, I think we need to try and get them, to purchase these properties so we know who's on the properties and who should be and who shouldn't be. So if we can wrap that up as fast as possible, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And fire protection ponds?
Fire protection ponds, we're waiting to set up a meeting. It hasn't been a high priority. It's something that'll be coming over the next couple of months to work towards the fire protection pond, potentially disposing of those ponds on or divesting of them on Richmond Road and on Midway Street. So nothing has been progressing on that file at this current time, but we will be moving on it.
Okay, thank you. And the municipal servicing from the city of Cornwall.
Yeah, we'll have the report with the third-party review at the May 19th meeting. That report will be received and we'll be able to provide those comments to council.
Is that a lengthy report, Mr. McDonald? Do you know, or is it?
It should not be. It's just a peer review.
Okay, just want to make sure that we have enough time to go through the whole thing. But if it's only a pre-review, then we're fine with that, I guess. But okay, and private roads development document.
Nothing. No progress on that file since the last council meeting.
Okay, thank you. And the Williamstown Garage and Fire Hall, I think we're waiting.
Yeah, we're finalizing. That's. I guess it's outstanding because it's not completed, but we're just working on finalizing the design and site plan, which will be brought to council. I've targeted May 19th to have that brought to council so that we can then prepare the tender and issue the tender for the pricing.
Okay, thank you. We look forward to that. And the LED street lights for Glen Walter.
Yeah, the LED street light project is we're waiting for a response from Cornwall Electric. We've requested a conference call meeting with them. CAO Mills and myself have requested that. I will be following up to see if we can get that meeting sooner than later because the request did go in a few weeks back and we are awaiting to hear back.
Okay, thank you. Put pressure on them as we seem to realize that it's hard for them to get back to us. So if we could keep pressure on them, that would be great.
Certainly.
Thank you. Review of waste management program.
Yeah, there was an RFP that was closed and I believe there was a presentation at County Council last Thursday. So unfortunately, we weren't able to have that timing for this meeting, but I'll be bringing a report forward to the May 19th meeting with the results of the RFP. It's a regional waste management strategy that we're looking at, and we'll also include in that report consideration for the extension of our current waste contracts for recycling and household waste collection. So that'll be at the May 19th meeting, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We have a question or comment from Deputy Mayor Warden.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, Yohan, at our last county council meeting, we had talked about this as it's kind of like a county-led initiative. And they're talking about probably having most of that report finalized next year. So it'll be in the calendar year. Winter, early spring is kind of what was indicated the other day. So I'm hoping that we could discuss doing an extension of our contracts sooner than later, because I don't think the way it was made sound at our meeting that this review is not going to be completed in full until after our contracts.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Deputy Warden's question, Deputy Mayor Warden. Those discussions have already taken place with our contractors. I thought it was premature to bring it to council until we had the opportunity to synchronize that report with the waste management strategy, which explains the reasons why we would be requiring the extension.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. We'll move to community services, Hamlet signage policy. Mrs. Haley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since we last updated this chart, we received the final draft images for the signs that will be presented to council at either our May 19th or June 1st council meetings for council to choose which the preferred option is that will allow us to complete the policy and move forward.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Warden.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. I was down Tyatown Road the other day and noticed the sign was smashed. So I don't think it's appropriate to change it till we maybe have a new signage. So I'm looking forward to that.
Good idea.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McDonnell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I agree with Councillor Ward or Deputy Mayor Warden. I'm excited to see the new policy be put in place. I know I get a lot of I get heckled quite a lot when I go down to Bridge End, and the sign has been destroyed since about the fall, and I've been pestered for a new one. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Haley. We'll move to corporate services, review of water rates and water bill design. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you. EVB will be at the next meeting with the report. It will be a a start, and I'm sure council will have a lot to say and perhaps follow-up questions and perhaps questions on those questions. So I look forward to them bringing it to us. Additionally, a few items just on the water report. We have had to change a few numbers. As you know, in 2019, we changed the sharing cost based on the logs of the users. And sorry, not the logs of the users. I just heard some background. So from the logs of the water operators to more equitably share the cost based on where they are. And that has changed some of the numbers favorably for Lancaster, less favorably for Glen Walter and Kennedy Redwood. They're receiving more of the cost. So that might change some of the direction we were going initially, but that report will be coming to council, and then we'll further the conversation from there. And same thing, I guess the water bill design is kind of contingent on getting those rates right and then sending out right ones.
Okay, thank you. And I guess the last one is the civic addressing bylaw, Farm 911 Emily project. I guess we resolved that this evening, so that will come off for the next council meeting. And I have a motion moved by Lyle Warden, second by Sam McDonnell, be resolved that bylaw number 26-2020 to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by resolution, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council. All in favor of the motion, Deputy Mayor Warden? You're on.
Meeting, I want to say, may the 4th be with you all today and into the next month. I couldn't resist.
That's fine, thank you. Sorry, you heard the motion. All in favor of the motion? The motion's carried, thank you. And if there's nothing else, I have a motion moved by Stephanie Jaworski, second by Martin Lang, be resolved that the council of the Township of South Glengarry adjourn to the call of the chair at 8:07 p.m. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thanks very much, everyone, and stay safe and enjoy your week.
Thank you.
Thank you.